Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, and welcome to another live stream. I'm just popping on to make sure that we can see everyone. And we can. Hello, Gail Driver. Okay, so we're all good to go. So tonight we have an exciting guest for everyone who is able to join us. And that is Simon Hurley. He had a new release today. So we are going to talk about that. So let me bring in Simon to say hello.
Hey friends, I am so excited to be joining Michael tonight on this channel and be sharing a little bit more about my release and craft along with him.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Simon's release came out today. We had an event, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, our crafty staycation, and one of the stamp sets in this release was a part of that event. So a lot of you who participated in that may already have that stamp set. So there's a ton of new things too, including some stamping foam. There's some new stencils, a layering stencil. There is a lemon stamp. There's so many different things. So I am just going to take a look. Okay, good. There's more people joining. Hi, Mary. Hi, Maria. Everyone that's joining. We're good. So I'm gonna add in the desk there, and then we can kind of talk about the new products. So anyone who knows the Simon Hurley products knows this watercolor logo. It is nice, bright, and blue on everything. So let's talk about what's new. So Simon said today, I believe that people were really demanding this new size of the stamping foam. So for those of you who have tried the stamping foam in the past, will know that the original size was only that big. So that's a pretty big difference. I mean, it's more than double one piece, right?
Yeah, it is like a little bit bigger than double and it fits an A2 size card like perfectly. And I just opened the comments, so now I can see all of your comments. So hey everyone, I'm super excited.
Good. And then in his last release, there was a heart shape. So for those of you that are fans of the stamping foam, this is the next one coming in your collection, right? And the good thing is, it fits an entire A2 size card panel.
Totally. And so many people were asking for the A2 size card and it
Yeah,
fit perfectly on top of it. So it's really that larger size that you're able to use and cover the whole background with.
yeah. Let me open it up. So, oh boy, we can show people the front. So the thing that I like the most about this is it's actually bigger. So it goes from edge to edge. Because I find a lot of times, like with stencils and stuff, sometimes you're doing something and there might be like a little border on the product and you don't get the full piece of paper. So I like that goes from edge to edge. And then the cool thing about the original stamping foam is that when you stamp it here, you wouldn't have that natural white border around your cards anyways. So either
Mm-hmm.
way, I think it's a win-win. You need both. You need all three, really,
I would agree.
right? So, and it is available now. It's available. Everything's available today, including the
Yep,
original,
and
including the heart. It's also available. Look, I even have an older stencil design still on the stamping foam. So that is
that's awesome.
good to note. Um, that it stays as long as you want it to stay. So if you heat this up, which we can show you that in a little bit, kind of what happens there, but you can reuse as much as you want. Okay,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
in addition to that, okay, we'll go to these. peel apart background stamps. So anyone who's familiar with these knows that these are a signature item in the Simon Hurley Create line. I am a huge fan of these types of stamps. I think red rubber has a much, I don't want to say better, but a different stamping property, I guess, than photopolymer. I think you get a different type of image. So I really like the opportunity for that. And then again, these being 6x6 cover a whole A2 card front. So, and I see, so Simon can talk about maybe a little bit about the peel apart thing, because that's kind of unique to his line.
Yeah, definitely. So originally when I made like the peel apart stamps, I wasn't really super thrilled with having a background stamp and having everyone's background look exactly the same. So with these, then you're able to, stamp a background and really make it your own. So we have this folk art floral, which has this centerpiece that pops out. So you can either use the full background by itself or use this and like stamp it in several colors and make it a focal point. And then to put it back in, you just kind of puzzle it in. And I always like to say too, if you want to make sure the edges are nice and stuck in, just kind of bend the rubber a little bit and it'll fit back in perfectly. And then with the pinstripes, there's actually 8 different pieces. All of them are separate. And I like to keep it on the plastic sheet whenever I'm stamping, just so you don't have to kind of deal with all those pieces. But then if you want to stamp like patterns or things like that, you can peel out the pieces separately and create your own designs. And on my cards today, I shared so many different techniques, but one of them was to use it as like a plaid. And I just absolutely love that. So like crisscross the different lines and you get this beautiful effect as well.
Yeah, I really like that plaid idea. That was really cool.
Thanks.
It's something I wouldn't have thought to do that way. So that's always an exciting part to this. So the next thing I guess we'll talk about are the photopolymer stamps in this collection. There are 2 of them. So like I said, the Pretty Peonies is brand new. The folks that may have participated in this staycation would have already received this stamp. So make sure that you don't buy it twice. Unless you love it that much, absolutely go ahead, buy a second one. And then this one, I have to say, this is it's called Zesty. This is probably one of my favorite stamps that you've ever done.
Thank you.
I love this stamp. Well, it's lemons in general that I think it's just so refreshing. Maybe it's also the time of year, but there's just something about this stamp and the lemons that I love. And then, there's some really good sentiments on there. So when life gives you lemons, I feel like life's given everyone lemons, I don't know, for the past couple years. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty
exactly.
timely stamp set. But the best part, and this might be why I really love this stamp set, is there's a coordinating layering stencil that can be used independent of itself, but also with the stamp, correct?
Yeah, so it layers perfectly in there. You can see that it fits the lemon, it's going to do the branch, and then it's also going to do the leaves and some shading. And I think we're going to kind of share this a little bit more today, but it's one of my favorite things, like you said, Michael, to be able to just color it in. Like it's so simple to do. So you could make several of them, or you could just really get some beautiful shading in there, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this would be such an easy way to kind of like mass produce cards or something, But you're right. It's just coloring something in that quickly it's incredible. But the great part is this stencil could also be used just by itself. So
Yes,
you
that's
can,
what I love about it too. So you can stamp that and you get all that beautiful shading and the black lines as well. But if you just use the stencil, you get kind of a more like whimsical, softer look, and it still is just as pretty. So yeah, like you said, you could use either one and get just a stunning effect.
yeah. So that I love. There are 2 other stencils as well in this collection, and then there's something else I can say that I saw you do earlier that I didn't think of. So there is the tiny circles and the flip-flop chevron. So the tiny circles is great. Circles are always a good thing to have. They make great
Hmm.
backgrounds. It's a good impression. But this chevron stencil, um, so you can flip it and make a double design. I did not know that you could do that. Maybe I should have had some context clues from the name, but you can do that. I'm not sure exactly how do you flip it over?
Yeah, so you're not the only one. My team was like, "Why is it called flip-flop chevron?" And my mom even asked that same question. It's called that because you can take the chevron pattern, you can actually just use it as it is. It looks kind of like a more like a broken kind of chevron pattern, which I like because it gives you a little bit more white space. But then I also
Mhm.
wanted the option, yeah, so you just flip it over and it lines up like perfectly to fill in the rest of the chevrons then. And you could do them in two separate colors. You can do like I did on this example where one is lunar paste and one is the color, and you just get that beautiful result. And I know in my lab today too, people were asking about lunar paste and how it kind of matches the colors of inks. So this is Minty
Mhm.
Fresh. It's one of the new lunar pastes. And you can see that's the Minty Fresh ink there too. So when it shines like this, it matches. And then when it's tilted and not shiny, it kind of gives a little bit of a contrasting look. And that's on purpose so that you can kind of mix them together like that and still get a little bit of contrast. But then when it shines, you get that beautiful color.
Yeah, so I think real quick, I'm just going to show because I just had an idea. So I'm also going to show you guys this new, since we're using a stencil and I don't have the stick and stamp mat because they're not in stock, there's a new Pixie Tape from Thermoweb, and I'm going to try this right now on here to show you guys what he means. Because I'm actually really intrigued, and I was waiting to ask you exactly how to do this before I tried. So I'm just taking some of the Remember Me ink, and I'm just gonna brush this on. Whoops, see. All right, I'll tape it down here and over here. I didn't really have the tape on the stencil much, you guys, so that's my fault. But yeah, so I'm just gonna do like 2 rows. So, okay, so I'm guessing, not guessing, whenever you're gonna flip it, so if you look at these like arrows, right? They're kind of pointing down right now. So to do the opposite, we would want them to point up or no. Yes. No. We just flip it backwards.
I can't see your screen, your like desk, so I'm gonna
Oh,
have
I
to
see what you're
trust
saying.
you.
Okay.
But I'll do it along with you so that everyone can see too.
Yeah, so that was the first one. And now I'm going to take Shooting Star as the second color because it's totally contrasting. It's a really bright yellow. Shooting Star is one of my favorite colors, honestly. I love this yellow.
Same, it's one of my favorites. Yeah, I was so excited to introduce that one because it just is so different from all the other yellows in the line. It's very refreshing. And it was perfectly timed for these lemons.
You can see my desk now, by the way.
Oh, perfect.
All right. So that's kind of what it does. I did that really quickly, kind of in a nutshell. And you get the double pattern.
Yes, that's exactly how you do it.
Perfect. So I will say too, you guys, if you notice across the top that Remember Me and Shooting Star mixed together makes a really nice green. As you can see right there. But that is how the flip-flop chevron stencil works. And Simon used lunar paste with it, which is the next thing we're going to talk about in his example. And it looks really, really great. It looks really,
I'm almost
really
done.
great. Okay. Hi,
There we
Michelle
go.
Rainey. Michelle says, hi, gentlemen. Hello.
Hi, Michelle. So
So
yeah,
awesome.
here I used just a little bit of Prom Queen and a little bit of Shooting Star and kind of faded it out into the background, but you get the same kind of effect there with that flip-flop. It's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah, that looks really good. That pink with Shooting Star is really pretty too. Look, you guys should be taking notes. Okay, everyone at home, take notes on these color combinations so you can try them out later.
Yeah, I
And then if
find
you
new colors all the time. Like you just put random things together, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then you got to retry. But there's a lot of different colors you can mix to make some beautiful combinations.
Yeah, and the good thing is too, if you don't yet have those ink colors, you can make a list of the ones that you want.
Totally.
So I'm gonna give everyone my little tip that I recently did. So I have all of my ink pads labeled on the side because of the way that I store them, so you guys can see like that. But I don't like to sit there with a label maker. It's so tedious to me. But here's what I did. I went on to Jennifer McGuire's blog, and if you can, anyone can go to her blog and download. She has ink swatch guides. They're PDFs. You can download them, print them out, and she has a little square for each ink color in like every ink line there is. So I downloaded the Simon Hurley one, printed it out, and then I printed on stickable vinyl, and then I just trimmed off all the names, and that way I didn't have to sit there with the label maker. It was they were already done, and then I knew they were spelled right, so it was all good to go.
That's super smart.
If anybody likes to label their ink pads, that's my little tip.
You're ahead of me. Mine are blank on this one.
Okay, so speaking of lunar paste, that's the next thing in the release. There are 2 new colors today: Minty Fresh and Psych. So
yes, I'm so excited about these 2. They add such perfect colors to the line right in between, kind of fills in different areas, which I really love.
Yeah, I think that the Psych is a really interesting color. I'm trying to grab that. There we go. So these are what the ink pads look like that coordinate with these colors. So it's like a nice like yellowy green, and then this is a really like a mint green, honestly, just like the name. But I think they're really, these lunar pastes are something like, I haven't really seen something like it before, because you get a really shining, shimmering finish, but it has a really like heavy body texture too, if you want to, put it through a stencil or use it, kind of like a collage medium. You could put this down on a card, just spread some out and even put like vellum on top, and you'd still see that color through.
Yeah, I was really thinking about it today, and I was like, yeah, these are very different and kind of unique to anything else, because like you said, they're like weirdly thin, but they hold their texture and they don't really seep underneath stencils. But you can create like really cool, like almost colored like mirror cardstock too by just wiping them on with your finger. And that was honestly originally the goal with these, is just to like have something to lightly rub onto things to give this like cool mirrored kind of effect. And then it turned into like a texture paste, which was awesome, but it's not completely what I intended, but there's so many different uses for it. But I thought I would share these 2. These are the swatch sheets that I made, and just compare them to different colors. So like this is Slippery When Wet, and you can see that Psych is so much more green than that orange. And then here's Minty Fresh and Psych in between Later Gator and Clear Skies. So you really can see the difference there and see if you want to add them to your collection then.
Yeah, and they just spread so easy. I don't know if anyone can see. I'm literally just dipping my finger into this and just spreading it out on this piece of paper that I'm making right here. So it spreads on so nice, so easy, so smooth. And like he said, the one really good thing about this is it doesn't seep underneath stencils. And I will say there are some pastes on the market that I think do have a bit of a thinner consistency that will kind of have a tendency to slip underneath your stencil. So these aren't going to do that.
Yeah, that's one thing I really just love about them, is they're like the perfect consistency for a lot of different techniques and making sure that they're not going to like seep underneath. But then they also like, if you apply them with your finger, like that was just really quick through a stencil with my finger. But if you do that, they have a pretty quick dry time too, which is my favorite thing, because I hate waiting. I'm so impatient. And so like if you heat this with a heat tool and keep it moving for 30 seconds to a minute, I mean, that'll be dry. And if you've got it super thin, it'll dry in like, 20 to 30 seconds, which is crazy.
Yeah, so I actually was thinking, it's so funny you're using that same stencil. of doing, so I love the whole tone on tone look on things. So I was thinking of just taking some of the Minty Fresh ink and just, blending some onto a background. And then some of the Psych as well. And then doing a little bit of a kind of both of them through the stencil.
Someone said, or Michelle said, how did you come up with the name Lunar Paste? It was actually kind of an accident, but I ended up liking the name Lunar Paste better. I had a different name at the beginning. But the thing that I love about the name Lunar Paste is it kind of like the moon, like outer space, and it's got that kind of soft glow to it, which I think the Lunar Paste really has, right? They're not like super in your face. They've got kind of that soft shine to it, which I think is just beautiful for your projects.
Yeah. That's an interesting story. I actually had no idea about that either, how you kind of came up with that.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like that. So do you have, I guess my question is, do you plan to have Lunar Paste to match all of the colors?
As long as people keep wanting them, I guess, yes. We might even have some lunar pastes that are different than the colors. I'm not quite sure. I've been working on sampling some of the colors, and I think, I don't love when people will release, everything in one color, but there have been so many people that have had like specific favorite colors that they really want in the paste that they've been asking for.
Yeah.
So as long as people want them, I mean, I'll keep doing them, but I feel like once the line of lunar paste is kind of filled out and I feel like it's complete, then I'll stop there depending on how many colors that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the rate we're going now, you might never have to stop. Okay, so what I was saying is I just took a little bit of both of those inks, the Psych and the Minty Fresh, and I kind of spread it just haphazardly on this background. And now I'm just going to put both colors of the paste one at a time. And I am going to wipe this off, so I'm not going to double dip into, a different color and mix them. But what I am going to do is mix them right here on the stencil. Well, they'll sort of be mixed, like kind of in the center part, they'll get a little mixed. But I think what will happen once I peel this up, ta-da. So now there's like kind of a different background, like a little abstract. This would be a really good, I think, a good like base for something else.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
It's something different, I suppose.
And then the cool part about this lunar paste too is I just went over it with some inks. But the awesome part about this is that I've tested it too. If you put down like some lunar paste, wherever that paste is, it's going to resist the ink. So if you want to ink afterwards too, it's not going to like sit on top. It's going to resist it beautifully. So this is just Psych. And then I put a little bit of Psych, I shifted my stencil and put a little bit kind of underneath and next to it. And it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, so really you could just like kind of thinking about that now, you could do like a pretty blended background, like maybe kind of harsh blending, and then, put your favorite kind of lunar paste over it through a stencil and then spray it with water when it's all dry, and that will kind of soften up your background.
Totally.
So there you go, guys. Something else you can do with that. But yeah, that's the lunar paste. And then, he has quite a few colors now. Is it 9?
I believe it is, yes. 9 colors.
Something like that.
That's kind of crazy.
And then the last one, just so everyone knows, there was Prom Queen and Triple Berry. So these are the other 2 new ones. So for anyone who's a fan of Wicked, what did they just say? Pink and green go great together.
Oh yeah, I love those colors. And the cool part now, which I love about this, I do love when the product launches, and and we get our 6 or whatever colors. But I absolutely love when these newer colors come out, because some of these colors are a little bit in between. They kind of don't know what they are, and they can go with different color families. And the cool part about that then is I feel like sometimes you might be a little bit limited by a color palette, but now that we're introducing these ones kind of in between, you've got a lot more options with it, and it doesn't look just like primary colors. So that's one thing I love about introducing new ones. And again, with even the background like this, when you've got it like not shiny, it's gonna look a little bit darker and give some contrast, and then when it shines, it's gonna match. I know lots of people had questions about that and were like, wondering why it doesn't match. That is how we match them.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So, all right. So why don't we do a little stamping? Because I'm really excited about this lemon and the lemon stencil. So, wait, there's some comments. Let's see. Oh, people say they want black and silver.
Ooh, we might have something in the works.
Well, there you go, guys. So here's the best way to do it. This is going to be what I'm going to say. If you want a black and silver, that means that you have to buy the green, because if everyone buys the green, then they'll say, oh, we need more colors, right? That's
Amen to that. They'll be like, we need more colors, and soon.
Yeah. Definitely, it's a supply and demand, right? Okay, so I put in the Misty already before before the live even started, the large lemon branch stamp, because I said to myself earlier today, I was like, I want to use that. So I'm gonna just stamp it out in black, real quick.
Well, and while you're doing that, I'm gonna use the stencils by themselves, so I can show them kind of how they line up without the stamp, and then you can show them how they line up with the stamp.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I'm gonna grab out my magnet board, or make guard station. So when it comes to the stencils, there are like numbers and they are etched, but you can really just do it in whatever order you'd like. I'm gonna start off with the lemons first and place these down, because they're kind of large and they've got little like areas in them where you're gonna know how to place things afterwards with the leaves. So that's what I'm gonna start with. And I'll show you where you can kind of look to see how it matches.
You guys, this looks really, really great stamped. Make sure you clean your stamps too. I always say that. Don't be a dirty stamper.
And with me, when it comes to like these types of things, I like to go in with blending brushes. I kind of said this in today's video, but just because I feel like they get a lot more into those little details. And so I'm going in on these lemons, and I like to start from like the top area of the lemon and give it some natural shading, because there's only one layer with the lemons. So I like to just give it its own kind of shading with the color here. And then also, because I'm not using the stamp and I want to add a little bit more detail, I'm going to bring in the tiny circle stencil. And this is what's super cool about this, that I think some people don't really think of, is you can go in with this stencil and you can just place it right over top. And this is going to add a little bit of texture to it too, by just blending through with the same color on here. And actually, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker color here. I'm going to use Slippery and Wet to add this down.
That's a really great idea with the texture from that other stencil over top.
Thank you. Yeah, I love these like tiny stencils that we're introducing now, because those smaller patterns are way easier to add in, say, this image, or even we released hot air balloons a little while back, and the like balloon is so small, so you need something smaller to fill in that area, and these little tiny designs are great for that. So look at that. That's just so fun. It adds just a little bit of a kind of whimsical textured feel.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
With that same color.
So you guys, I stamped it out and now I'm adhering the stencil on top of the lemon. So I think I am gonna start with the shooting star because, you know, who doesn't love a bright, delicious lemon? Apparently, so
Exactly.
there's a type of lemon called a Meyer lemon that I believe is a sweeter lemon that is used for like when they make like lemon cakes and lemon pies and things. But I don't think it looks any much different than like any old lemon. So that's
Oh, so
the fun trivia of the day. Fun fact.
the fun fact of the day. That's kind of funny. Well, I never knew that they used different types to make that, but I guess it kind of makes sense to have them be a little bit sweeter than the kind of tart lemons that we eat.
Yeah. So all right, and then I
And
think
I'm going to do the same thing with these dots on the leaves too.
I'll take some of the slippery when wet and just go a little bit on the edges where kind of like the black dots are on the stamped version to just add a little bit of a different tone.
I love those little dots. They make it so that it really is super easy to color and it gives it like that almost automatic shading.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's almost like impressionistic type of art where they're kind of like a lot of little things make up something larger.
Totally.
See, Maria said, I just love Meyer lemons. See, I'm not crazy. Oh, Gail Driver said, great for lemon meringue pie. See, look, we're all learning stuff today. See, I had no idea. All right,
Michael
so
is
I'm
coming
gonna
in with the
peel.
fact of the day.
You know, if I know anything, it's things that others don't. Useless, useless knowledge. Okay, so step one was filling in the lemons, right? So then would we say that the second step should be the branch?
It is totally up to you. You could do the branch next. I believe the branches actually says that it's first, but like we really just did that to make sure that you know like which area is each thing,
Yeah.
and that each one is separate. But you can do them however you'd like. When it comes to like doing it without the stamp, I find that the lemons first, then the leaves, because you're able to easily find like the areas in the lemons, the divots where they kind of fit in, and that's really easy to line up then.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let me grab a couple colors because we're going to need some leaves as well. Okay, so I actually think for the branch, I might use Viper instead of, yeah.
Bring in a little
So,
green.
yeah, it's going to be more, you know, because I feel like the branch might actually be green. I don't know, or brown.
I think it might actually, I think you're right. I think it is green.
I mean, your branch could be pink if you wanted it to, everybody. It doesn't matter. You can do what you want. I just actually really like this Viper color, and I don't think I use it really often, so this is a good opportunity for me to get a little bit of use.
Yeah, I love Viper. I think it is a little bit of an underrepresented color, but I love it because it works great for like floral different images because it's like
Yeah.
not super bright. So that's why I really did that, because I was looking for something for florals and Psych was just a little bit too bright for my liking.
All right, my friends. So that is the first stencil right there. Now we'll go on to the second one, but let me peel this up to put it a little closer to show everybody. As you can see, Simon is doing just the stencil on its own, which looks great. And I have used the stamped image and the stencil. So the next step is going to be the leaves.
That is looking great so far.
Okay, so the leaves goes in 2 ways, right?
Yes, so the leaves, the first layer will do all of the leaves, and then the second layer will cover only a few of them, and it gives them a little bit of shading. That's kind of where the leaves would like curl up or down. That's the shading that we added there. So here is that finished effect, and this is with that like circle stencil underneath too, to get all of that beautiful texture and dimension. But like I said, you can fill it in kind of whatever order you want with the layers. I find for me that the lemons first, and then, like I said, that's going to kind of fit the leaves in those different areas. It's pretty easy to see, and the branch should just kind of connect them all. It's pretty easy to line up once you see the image. And if you look on the back of the packaging too, there is that example. So it's pretty easy to see exactly how it lines up.
Yeah. So I'm just filling in the leaves with the overzealous first. And then I'm going to do the second part with the fake plant because it's much darker. And I think the overzealous is a pretty color because it has that like kind of a yellow to it. All right.
I think we did the same colors for the leaves. You said overzealous and fake plant?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. I think those are two great like leaf colors for these kind of like lemons. It gives them a nice bright look.
All right. So, okay. I think yes. I figured it out, you guys, all on my own on how to place the second part. It's like a puzzle. Every time I find with any layering stencil, I always tend to look at it like, was that the right way?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a learning curve when you first get any layering stencil, but I feel like after the first use, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I've seen some people be a little bit confused about that second leaf layer because it doesn't cover them all.
Yeah.
But I think also once you see the stamp, it should be pretty easy.
Oh, he's fussy cutting his. I'm gonna have to fussy cut this because so we have a die from our spring release that we sent to Simon, and so I was thinking, and you know this could change, but I already die cut it out, but I was thinking it could maybe go like on top of it, but we'll see. It also would be great for the stamping foam.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use mine in the background as kind of a subtle like window behind it, which I think would be fun.
Yeah. See, great minds think alike, everyone. Okay.
And then there is those like digital stamps as well if you would like to use them with the machines as well.
Oh, the cut files.
Oh yeah, digital cut files, yes.
Yeah. So those of you with crickets or silhouettes, Ranger does offer, and they're really inexpensive. I think it's like $1.99. They offer cut files for all of Simon's stamp sets. They don't make dies for his stamps currently, but if you are a cut file person, you can absolutely get that. Or if you have a scan and cut, you could do that too. But so this is my finished lemon branch. I love this so much, you guys. I really do. But now I'm gonna have to cut it out.
It is, yeah, it's one of my faves. One of my favorite stencils. Once I designed it, I was like, this is amazing, and I need to design a stamp set with it. Because I think I actually started out with the stencil, and then I was like, this needs a stamp.
Oh, that's interesting to know.
It was very backwards. It was a very backwards design process because usually it's the other way around. But for this one, I ended up starting with the stencil, and I was like, I would love to add a little bit more detail to that. You know, so that's why it started as just a stencil you could use on its own, really.
So speaking of the design process, I think people might be interested to know. So whenever you have a new release coming out, like what inspires that? Do you think about kind of what the release as a whole is going to look like, or do you kind of start with like one product and go from there?
To be honest, I sit down, and actually I just recently did this a little while ago, a couple weeks ago. And I sit down, and for about a week straight, I don't answer my emails, I don't make YouTube videos. I sit down and I design like nonstop, all day, every day for a whole week. And it's usually after the product. I made a reel the other day, like an Instagram video, and was talking about how I always turn in my designs late. So my team was asking for all these designs, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down, and I got it all done in a week. And I try to make things in sets. So if I make this lemon background, like what's a background stamp that's gonna look good with that? What is a stencil that's gonna look good with the stamp set? And so I try to do it in kind of groupings of 3 and make the release cohesive in that aspect. But then I do like to kind of give different varieties during the release. So like here it's lemons and flowers. In the last release, it was different flowers and then background flowers, because that was more of a love theme. But you'll see in
Yeah.
future releases too that it's got some different varieties, but it all seems to be pretty cohesive too. But we take all the artwork then, and then we pick and choose. We're like, you know, I think that would be good in there. I think that would be good there. You'll see some things like the tiny circles and the tiny hearts I designed together, but they ended up getting split up just to kind of fit the release.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I always think, I'm always curious how different people do it because, you know, even as the producer row, it's a similar process where it kind of just depends upon what we're doing. And, you know, something we might have thought of in January could end up in a holiday release or something like that, you know. There's always new ideas. So everyone can be so proud. I fussy cut this entire thing. But look how
Love it.
cool
That
that
looks
looks.
great.
I love this, you guys. I could make like 50 of these. I love it so much. So,
And
but
it's really easy too. That's what I love about it.
this is the die that I was talking about. It's called Solarium Window. It's a standalone die. One piece. It's very intricate, so you might need to add like a shim or use a precision plate or something, but it's a really great die. I pre-cut it out of craft paper for this purpose because I thought this little branch would look really cute, maybe on the front of this.
Oh, I think that looks amazing.
Yeah, kind of like, I think it maybe like popped up and hanging off the side a bit would look pretty. I don't know if this might be like, yeah, that's not gonna look right.
And for me, I actually went in with the die and I used the little rubber mat from my Spellbinders Platinum machine. And I actually just impressed it into there. So you get this beautiful embossed look. And I love this kind of effect for a background because it's simple, it stays in the background, but it still gives all that like beautiful detail that's in this die.
Yeah, so let me get a hard base.
And I'm using a little bit of Breakup Blue. I love this kind of soft blue color to do sky backgrounds or something light like this. It just creates such a beautiful blend.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. So Simon has a Love Struck ink and a Breakup Blue ink, and every time I look at those two colors, I'm reminded that he's a fan of Taylor Swift, and part of me thinks that that's where some of that came from.
Or do you think it's, yeah, definitely. I mean, it was definitely inspired by kind of music and everything that was around me. And I love coming up with like clever names. And for me, I sat in with my team, and for Breakup Blue, at least, the Love Struck was supposed to be a different color, but we ended up going with Love Struck. I love that name. Breakup Blue, I sat in the meeting and I was like, you guys are gonna hate this, but Breakup Blue just sounds really good. I think it just like really has a nice ring to it. And they were like, no, we actually love it. Like, let's do that. So that's one, and you might see some other names that kind of go along with them. But I love doing kind of something that's a little bit different than what everybody else has, and is going to make people kind of laugh and smile when they're using it.
Yeah, I love it. I think that that's really clever.
But definitely music inspired. I grew up with Taylor Swift and some other great songwriters too. So
Yes. And for those at home, if you don't know who Taylor Swift is, I need you to crawl out from under the rock you're living under and turn on the radio. She's everywhere.
yeah.
She's really good, actually. All right, so I just kind of glued this on directly to the card base, but I feel like, so this is going to be like too kind of just like harsh for me, like it's really kind of just black and craft or white and craft. So I am going to put a little bit of ink on here. So if this is yellow, green, I'm going to probably do a little bit of a blue. Maybe I'll use the breakup, the breakup, let's see. I'll use a
Breakup
little
blue.
bit of breakup blue, and maybe some of the clear skies. We'll put, because they're different, but they're similar.
Yes, they're different in the fact that breakup blue is a little bit more muted and a little bit more blue, whereas clear skies is a lot brighter, and it's more of like a teal kind of color, like a greenish blue.
Yeah.
Breakup blue really looks a little sad, but I love it. It's a great background color, and really like a true blue. It kind of goes along with No Diving. I kind of like these two together as a lighter and darker color.
Oh yeah, No Diving. That's a really that's another one. That's a really nice, bold, rich color.
I'm gonna take a little bit of No Diving, and I'm gonna go over top with one of these foam tools just to kind of catch the raised surfaces. I think that'll be cool, just on some of these. Yeah, that looks really cool. Look, it just brings some of that to life. Speaking of Taylor Swift, I think we should tell this story. Michael, the Creativation class. So I was teaching a class for Creativation a couple years ago. It was my first Creativation class. And I asked my team, I was like, okay, so what do I do when everybody's sitting there? I think you guys were either coloring or fussy cutting something out. And I was like, so what am I going to do to kill this time? So I took out my phone. I started playing Taylor Swift's new album through my microphone. And everyone was vibing out to Taylor Swift while they were doing their fussy cutting and coloring, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I was like, if anybody walks into this room right now, it's going to be hilarious that I'm just sitting here not teaching and just waiting for everybody to fussy cut their stuff out before we move on, listening to Taylor Swift through the sound system.
Yes, it was a great class too. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I met so many great people that year. But yes, that was funny. He definitely had us jamming out to Taylor Swift. I'll never forget. So in that class, the woman, and I honestly, I don't even know who she is. That's the only time I ever saw this lady. She was sitting next to me, and she had no idea, like no idea what was going on. It was so sweet. I think I don't know if she just like kind of came along like with her friend that maybe like owns a store or something, but she was very confused, but she was really into the Taylor Swift.
The Taylor Swift really brought everyone together that day.
She did. She really did.
And it was hilarious too because it was through my microphone, so it was like cutting out at times, and it was not clear at all, but it was hilarious.
So
all
what
right,
I
so
did
there
is masked it all off, just so in case anyone was wondering why I was using all that tape, so it doesn't go on the white part of the border of the card.
Oh, I love this. That window is so cool. I love the kind of details that it has to it. Sadly, I'm covering up some of the detail, but I love it.
Yeah,
Just
that's
beautiful.
totally
And
fine.
and that no diving just really brings out that. So I love those two colors together because it really adds some depth and dimension to it.
Yeah, I actually think so. I did put the clear skies kind of towards the top and the breakup blue at the bottom here. But I think what I'm going to do is take just like a tiny bit of the shooting star, okay? Because it is kind of like a window and it's, going to be a little bit of green. I'm going to take a little bit and just lightly kind of do around the edge. So like just on the top part to give it like a little bit of a, like a green glow, almost, I don't know, like a greenhouse, maybe like sun coming in.
Yeah.
We'll see. Everyone can tell me if that's like crazy when we get to that point of me taking the tape off, the big reveal. But like I was literally just the tiniest bit. Love watching you create together. Oh, thanks, Shannon. I'm glad to see you. Hello, by the way, Shannon. So speaking of create, so for those who don't know, Shannon, she's an employee of Brutus Monroe, but she runs our design team. And starting tomorrow, because I saw Michelle saying earlier that she misses late night live streams like this. Starting tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, every Tuesday and Thursday, we will have someone from our design team going live on this channel. So those who love the evening lives, you got your answer. So how do we think this looks, you guys?
I think it looks great.
So this middle part, we're gonna, kind of cover that up somehow. But
the yellow almost gives it like a patinaed look. I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah. So you guys know I love a foam square. So I'm definitely gonna pop this up with some foam squares. Let me find some thick ones. Quickly, hopefully.
All right, so I just added this one down onto a card base there, and then I'm going to adhere down my lemons on top. Oh, I just love that. Ah, those blues against the yellow looks beautiful.
Yeah, so fun fact, my high school colors were blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow? Oh, it's the colors of Ukraine too.
Yes, it is. That is more important. Okay, so
a lot of people have been sharing their blue and yellow cards on Instagram, which I think is awesome. I love that. To see everyone kind of coming together as a community and creating all those cards, I think it's amazing.
I think that's one of the most inspiring things about the craft community, how so many people from so many backgrounds, crafting to me is kind of like smiling in a way where it's a universal thing that everyone understands. And
totally,
it doesn't matter like where you're from, who you are, what you look like. Creativity, sees is blind, really. And I just love that. I absolutely love that. Okay.
I think it really brings people together too, and that's one thing that I really fell in love with our community. Is I don't know if anybody really knows this, but I was doing so many different crafts before I actually found card making, and I stopped all of it because none of them really had this community behind it. But then I found card making, and I fell in love with the community, and of course haven't stopped since. But that's the thing that I really fell in love with, besides all of the amazing products and stuff, is just the super supportive community that we have.
I couldn't agree more. So, all right. So I need a sentiment, and I think what the sentiment needs to be is black. I mean, okay, so let me rephrase. It needs to be on black paper, heat embossed, right, with white. So I took the sentiment that says "you got this" because it's a nice and small one, and I think that's going to work really well for this card. Janine says it's a great stress reliever.
Yeah,
wishing
totally.
Things would be better for whatever you're creating. Yes, it is a good stress reliever. I'll tell you what, it actually is. I think, because you can come into your craft space or wherever you create, and just kind of step away. You can unplug yourself, turn yourself off, whatever you need to do.
This is
And
whenever I glue something down, I grab six, 7 Hurley acrylic blocks and it's a great little weight to hold things down in place.
That's a good idea. So everybody, I hope you heard that. You're going to need to all get 6 Simon Hurley Create acrylic blocks. If it's less than 6, it's not going to work. So get 6.
Exactly. Less than 6 is no bueno.
All right. So I'm trying something new.
I'm going to do
here.
the stamp from this Pretty Peonies. I love the sentiments in
Okay, so I think Simon's feed is frozen. But, oh, there he is. I think he's coming back. He'll be back. He can come back in. But while he's out, he's coming back. 1 second. There we go.
Are we back? Yeah?
You're back.
All right. Wait, did I just disappear or were you gone too?
No, just you.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but I was still here. What I was gonna say though to everyone is what I did there is I saw Gina K do this the other day when she was heat embossing, and I tried it and it works. It works pretty well. So she put the ink on the stamp, and then when she pressed it onto the paper, she kind of left it sit there for a minute to really kind of absorb into the paper, and it produced a more like clean result on sentiment stamps. So I think she's on to something there. Mary Landers, I love your positive attitude too. Thank you for saying that. Crafty people are pretty positive people in general. There's a few negative Nellies out there, but you know what? They they can do their own thing, right? Everybody is a cranky pants at some point, I think. All right, so I'm gonna put this sentiment back before I heat this up because I will drop it and lose it, and then it'll be gone forever. And then I'll finish this card. The only other thing I really want to show is the foam, since I got this heat tool out.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to show that.
Just like a real little quick impression. All right, so you see it says, "You got this," and you do. So I'm gonna let that cool off a second and dust off the powder. So I think I'm just gonna fussy cut this out too.
So if anybody wonders why I'm gluing my foam tape too, so I added foam tape for dimension, but I did add some liquid glue to it. And it's just because we added a lot of ink to our background. And I find that sometimes the foam tape or adhesives don't want to stick to the ink. Because like the ink takes a little bit of time to actually fully dry, even though it's not going to be lifted up with your fingers. So then the liquid adhesive just helps it kind of sit on there and dry a little bit quicker. And there is that finished card. I absolutely love it. I love the lemon stencil. So like we said, you could just use that by itself. The tiny circles really adds a lot to it too, I think, with texture. And then the "You Are in My Purse," and I just love that. I think it's so encouraging. And once again, I'm going to, this is probably the best crafty tip you're going to get, guys. 6 acrylic blocks, and we're ready to dry.
Yes, 6 acrylic, I'll say it again. If it's less than 6, it's not going to happen.
It's
So
not
I'll
gonna work.
kind of, I'm going to pop this up here. There is one more thing I'm going to do to this because I am obsessed with this other product and I use it. I actually need a white. So I'm going to show you guys. I did make a little boo-boo with the heat embossing. So let me make sure that this is a white. It's not a white one. I think I have a white gel pen just floating about.
All right, and then I'm just going to share a quick technique using this Pinstripes background stamp. I know that I kind of shared it in my live today, but I wanted to share it here too in case if anybody wasn't there. We were talking about the pinstripes and how you can create that cool plaid, and I just want to give you a couple tips with it as well. So I am using the stick and stamp mat, but I did want to just say the stick and stamp mat isn't in stock right now, but I'm just using it simply for the grid lines right now. So you can attach it to the station, you can use the grid lines on your work surface, so just keep that in mind. But the biggest tip that I have is I'm going to pull out one of the lines. There's actually 3 different varied lines in here, so I pull out all 3 so I can create my pattern. And then we can go in and do our stamping. I'm going to start off with a little bit of Guppy and ink this up. And the great part about my inks too is they're really great for stamping, watercoloring, and blending, so they're going to do great for this. And here's where my tip kind of comes in. Of course, you could stamp it straight on the card, but if you want to create sort of a plaid pattern that is diagonal, there's grid lines on this, there's grid lines on lots of product, and you can take this and line it up with 2 of those grids so that you're easily going to be able to kind of get it on that angle and get it on a perfect angle every single time. And then after you're done stamping this first one, all you have to do is just line it up with that line and keep stamping down, and it's going to give you that angle. But then if you want to like tilt it in an opposite direction, you can totally do that too with these lines.
Yeah, this is a really, really cool tip. Just so you guys know just what I was doing right there really quick to show you. On this Y, I did get a little, the embossing powder was off, but since it's white on black, I just took a white gel pen and filled in that little spot, and you'll never know. So if that ever happens to you, the gel pen is your friend. And the only other thing that I was gonna say that I was due to this card is take my my favorite thing, everyone knows this, the Lawn Fawn glitter pen. And I'm just gonna go around and put some different dots, like where all these dots are. And the reason I'm gonna do that is it'll just make it kind of look like the lemon is like a little sugared.
Oh, I love that. It's going to add a little bit of texture to it. That's cool.
Yeah. But I use this glitter pen on almost every single project. So I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, there's the little finished look. How do you guys think that turned out? Pretty easy, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and that with the die cut and the blending in the background looks amazing.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. And I'm actually glad I cut it out of craft paper because it's a nice contrast from all the color.
So here you can see when these align, you can see I used those grid lines again, but when they line up in the center, like look at all of that amazing kind of plaid you get there. And I did some of these straight on the cards, like to give a plaid pattern, some of them diagonally like this, and it just gives such a cool look. And so you could continue that down and across the card, or you could do the whole thing. And look, it just creates so many cool intersecting lines and lots of new colors in between there too. Love it.
I love that. That looks amazing. That's
Thanks.
like so cool to me. But okay, so I am gonna show you guys while he was kind of doing that, the stamping foam, and I'm gonna do it on this die. So I put this panel down because I'm gonna stamp on that, and I wanted to stick to the table. But so here's kind of the demo. What I've learned is it's good to have your item ready to go. whatever you want to press it into, make sure it's nice and right there. So then I'm going to kind of hold the stamping foam like above the die, so when it's hot, I can just press it on quickly. But I'm just going to take the heat gun and heat up the foam. And be careful that you don't burn yourself. I've done that. It does not feel good. And then just press. You can use definitely his tip with all the acrylic blocks too. I don't have those in front of me, so I'm just pressing pretty hard. But okay. Hopefully I got it heated up enough. I did. I put it on there a little crooked, but that's okay. You get the drift. But it's hard with the light. That might be. There we go. Let me put a little shadow there. So you guys can see that impression is now on the foam, right? So here's the fun part. We're going to take some ink. So I got fake plant because it's a nice dark green. And I'm going to just swipe some of that across the bottom. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the Love Struck, which is that really pretty pink. Remember what we said about pink and green earlier? And just put
You're back.
that.
You froze for a second from me.
Okay. So, but I'm just showing how to put some colors on there. So I just swiped a bunch of ink on it. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this off screen because I don't want to spray everywhere. But I'm going to take this spray bottle and I'm going to lightly mist over the top of this foam. But I'm going to do that away from the camera so I don't get water on top of everything. I have a real bad habit with that. So as you can see, I put a couple sprays of water. There's some larger droplets, but it's going to kind of give us this impression on the paper. And yes, mine's going to be a little crooked because I put that on there crooked. But look at that, you guys.
I love that. That's such a great impression.
And that was I just pressed it right onto the die. So I'm going to dry it off real quick and hold it closer. But there you go. And, you know, that's just kind of like a harsh line that I did there, but you could totally do whatever you want. You know, we could do this in, you know, many colors. And then to clean it off, you'd spray a little bit of water, wipe it away.
And one thing I do want to tell people too is don't be discouraged if you're not getting a super deep impression. You can see this one I'm using the flower garden background stamp, and I got like the weakest impression in the entire world. But because this stamping foam is so big, it is a little bit harder to get a super deep impression. But one thing I've found with the stamping foam is you don't actually need like as deep of an impression as you might think. And so I'll share that in just a second here as I quickly ink this up. I'm just inking it up by swirling my ink red onto the surface, but you can still see that it's picking up all those little details, even though you think that it might not.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to show you guys my impressions here, but I'm going to heat this back up and it's going to take that away. So basically what's going to happen is this can be, you know, we can make another impression onto something else. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see it as clear on the camera, but when you reheat, you get a fresh, clean slate. So now you can kind of still see that a little bit, but because it was a die I pressed it into, but it's very smooth. So just to show you, we'll put them this way. I'll put the stripes stamp there and just press this into that. Same exact one.
So look at that. So like I said, the thinnest impression, and you still get all of those amazing details from that stamp. So don't get worried when you get the stamping foam and you don't get as deep of an impression. It's just because the surface area is so much larger than the other foam, but it really is kind of a myth that everybody thinks you need the super deep impression. You actually get a little bit more detail from having less impression because it's, you know, it's all touching that surface rather than being raised up too deep into the stamp.
Yeah, it doesn't really have to be deep at all, right?
Correct, yeah. See, and once you add that ink, you'll like see them come to life when you thought that there wasn't a ton there. It really does show up.
All right, so for this one, just to show you guys the impression, I did the shooting star, and I think it was the clear skies I just grabbed. And then I'll just spray this with water, and you can see, because I wanted you to see how it, you can use the same piece of foam over and over.
Yeah, and I love that about it. Right, it comes in a pack of 2, but you can keep using them over and over, and you can use both sides. You can use the edges to create kind of a border. So there's so many different things you could do with them. I do want to say I saw some comments that oh, that is stunning. I saw some comments of people wanting to use this on a 5x7 card. It's sized for the A2 size card, so not a 5x7. It fits on the A2.
Yeah, it's definitely perfect for A2. And then you see, guys, that I actually really like this impression, so I'm not going to reheat this. I'm going to keep this one on here because I think I'm going to make some other stuff with that. But as you can see, both of these were made with the same piece of stamping foam. So it's really versatile. It's really reusable. And it, you know, it comes in 2 different sizes. Well, 3 really, if you count the heart shape. So, and then the other cool part is, even if you're not going to use this as like a card background, these make really great panels to cut like textured die cuts from. So
That's a great idea.
Always an option. But that's kind of our little presentation for tonight, I think. We made, look at all these backgrounds that you got. Simon has those. I made these. We, you know, talked about the lunar paste, which is, this is probably nice and dry. Yeah, it's dry now. So look, you guys, you can kind of touch that and feel that. You could even spray this with water too. So if I spray that, like I just did, it'll add a little water reactive to the ink I put behind it.
Yeah, and the cool part too with that is you can still react the ink, but the lunar paste isn't going to react. It dries permanent. So it's a great resist kind of technique.
Yeah, it's really, really, really cool. So let me go. Remove this. Let me get back into the frame for you guys. So we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Oh, Shannon said she loves the bigger size. That's great. Yeah, I really like the bigger size too. It kind of solves a problem for not being able to do an A2, like a
yeah, totally.
A2,
I think I love the smaller size of the first one just because it creates such a beautiful border. So I don't think we're going to ever replace or get rid of that one. But I think the really cool part about this now is you can create the full A2 size card. So whether you're creating a background with a focal point on it, then you can use this and have this be your full background, which is amazing. There were so many people asking for it. So it's finally out, and I'm excited to share that all with you.
Yeah, so, and then I love this card. These lemons, I love them. I love these lemons. If you're gonna get anything, get the lemons and the stencil. It's fantastic. So thank you, Simon, for joining us tonight. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us tonight. And like I said, if you like the later in the evening lives, be sure to tune in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn your notifications on. Subscribe to Simon's channel too. If you're not, I believe he mentioned today he's going to do more lives as well. So there's always something out there for you, but our design team will be live every Tuesday and Thursday starting tomorrow. So
That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Michael. And again, thank you everyone so much for joining today and for really supporting the release. It means so much to me.
yeah, we always love your new releases. All right. Good night, everyone.
Have a good night, guys.